Hello, everyone. My name is Nick. You all know that. Today I will be presenting to you the lack of physical activity and how the Buffalo Police Athletic League is helping that out. So, for starters, lack of physical activity. First and foremost, the kids are not to blame. Many people these days will go around saying, the kids got to go outside, the kids got to do this, kids got to do that. They can't. Kids are not. They don't have the money to pay for programs. They don't have accessibility. They can't drive. It's not the kids. Child sports organizations are closing. Many sports leagues and community centers are closing, which are taking away the opportunities for these children and really locking them into playing video games all day, which is contributing to obesity and the lack of physical activity. As it says here, they pay a great amount or drive great distances to actually have physical activity with others or even by themselves, especially when it comes to leagues. You will have to drive your kid miles and miles, and there's expensive fees to get in certain basketball or football or baseball leagues, and it's not an option for many parents. Schools are not cutting it. So schools are one of the main reasons why there's not enough physical activity, is because a 1 hour gym session once a week is not enough for a kid who spends 40 hours a week sitting at home playing video games. They're not equaling out, and it's not enough. The decline of sports teams. So, as I mentioned before, a lot of sports organizations are closing. For example, South Buffalo used to have a baseball league and a soccer league, which are no longer available for kids over the age of 12. Only 60% of kids play at least one team sport, which means 40% of kids do not play sports with other kids their age at all. Child organizations are closing due to lack of participants. The reason the South Buffalo League is closed is because there was not enough kids contributing and playing to keep the league going. You ended up having one or two teams playing against each other for an entire season, which, first off, isn't very encouraging. It's not fun. Only team sports in schools. A lot of kids that are part of this 60% are included from when they play on a team sport in their middle school or grammar school. And that's where a lot of that 60% is being pulled from. Video game uprise. More than 90% of American kids play video games these days. And that's not a once a week logging on for an hour. We're talking 5 hours a day, and they're sitting there spending days wasting their life away looking at a screen. 99% of boys in the U.S. play some sort of video games almost every day, which is an astronomical number compared to the fact that only 60% play on team sports. Child obesity. In 2017-2018, obesity affected 19.3% of children ages 2 to 19, which is about 14.4 million children and adolescents. That increased to 22.4% in 2019 to 2020, and increased even more into the 2020-2021 year as the COVID-19 pandemic hit and a lot of kids were forced to stay inside. No healthy influences or role models. So a lot of kids don't play in these sports and these leagues or get the physical activity they need because there's nobody who's guiding them. Some kids, their parents aren't there, and they're forced to, just do what they see in the neighborhood, which in Buffalo especially is, drugs and getting the bad crowds and, like I said, a lack of parental figures, and they find themselves without any responsibility or discipline and will fall into these bad crowds and lead them down paths that sometimes they can't turn back from. Thank you all for listening. My name is Nicholas again. If anybody has any questions, please ask now. Anyone? No? You sure? Up front. You look like you got a question. You're interested. Let's hear it.
After getting cut, what would be a good way to help raise money?
Are we talking for the kids or for the programs?
How about for the programs, like schools that Are schools cutting teams, or is it just like
So it's a
like
lot of
summer leagues?
outside summer leagues that are getting cut because schools have funding from the state. But like the Police Athletic League, we do a lot of um, free programs, such as our Play Streets, where we go out to communities and invite kids from the neighborhood to come in to sample a variety of sports. We also do a free NFL flag football program, which is great. We get over 200 participants, and brings in a ton of kids, and they get to play with the police officers in Buffalo, as well as a lot of the PAL staff, and overall, it's just a great time for everyone.
Then how would you get more kids to come that normally wouldn't?
So that normally wouldn't. You would want to aim for advertisement. We do a lot on Instagram and Facebook to target the parents. A lot of kids these days are on Instagram, so you do want to get a little bit there, but also, going to their schools, telling their teachers that, hey, we have these programs going on, let the kids know so they have something to do besides fall into those bad crowds or play those video games after they get out of school. Thank you all for listening. And if anybody wonders, right there, that's me. In the back of that little.
Did you stop name drop?